Ethan Parker was no stranger to late-night streams. With a small but loyal following, his gaming channel was slowly growing, but it was nothing compared to the viral titans of the platform. He had never aimed for fame, just enough to make a living doing what he loved. That's why, when he saw the notification that his channel had gone live while he was asleep, his heart nearly stopped. His phone vibrated on the nightstand, the bright screen cutting through the darkness of his bedroom. "Your live stream has started." Ethan sat up, rubbing his eyes. He hadn't scheduled any streams. Had he been hacked? He fumbled for his laptop, pulling it onto his lap and opening his channel. Sure enough, the stream was running. The chat was already buzzing with confused viewers. User: Night Owls Play. Ethan? Are you there? User: Haunted Bite. Dude, this is creepy as hell. Where are you streaming from? A sinking feeling formed in Ethan's stomach as he clicked into the video. The screen was dimly lit, showing a grainy night vision feed of a room. But not just any room. His room. The angle was from the corner near the ceiling, where no camera existed. It showed him, sitting up in bed, staring at his laptop. He turned his head instinctively toward the corner where the camera should be, but there was nothing there. The chat exploded. User: Ghost Watcher. WTF Ethan, is this a prank? How are you streaming this? User: Digital Doom. Dude, check your room. That's live right now. Ethan's breath came in short gasps. He grabbed his phone and aimed the flashlight at the corner of his ceiling. Nothing. No camera, no wires. Just the bare wall. Yet, on the live stream, the eerie green-tinted footage continued, unwavering. Then, something changed. The Ethan in the stream was no longer looking at his laptop. He was staring directly at the camera. And he was smiling. Ethan's fingers trembled as he moved his cursor, hovering over the End Stream button. But as he clicked, nothing happened. The stream wouldn't stop. The chat flooded with frantic messages. User: Shadow Crawler. Dude, someone's messing with you. Pull up your OBS settings. User: Midnight Phantom. You don't get it. That's not Ethan. Look at his eyes. Ethan turned back to the stream. His doppelganger's grin stretched wider, the corners of his mouth unnaturally high. His eyes, Ethan felt his stomach lurch. They weren't reflecting light the way they should. They were deep, black voids. He slammed his laptop shut, chest heaving. This had to be a prank. Someone had hacked his account, deep-faked his image, right? A notification popped up on his phone. New donation. $50 from unknown_WN_voice. Don't look away. It's almost here. His blood ran cold. From the laptop, still closed, the muffled sound of his own voice whispered, "Let me in." Ethan flinched at the sound. It wasn't possible. His voice had clearly come from inside the laptop, but the device was closed, muted. His stomach churned with unease as another notification pinged. New donation. $100 from unknown_WN_voice. Check the door. A soft knock echoed through his apartment. Ethan's breath hitched. He lived alone. No one should be there. His hands tightened around his phone as the chat exploded again. User: Phantom Echo. Bro, do not open that door. User: Silent Watcher. There's something standing outside. We can see it. He swallowed hard, his skin prickling with dread. The stream was still running, still filming from the impossible angle. Slowly, with shaking fingers, he reopened his laptop. The night vision footage remained unchanged, except the door behind him, in the stream, was open. Ethan spun around. His real door was shut. But on the live stream, it had creaked ajar, revealing a pitch-black void beyond. Something moved in the darkness. A shadowed figure stepped forward, barely visible. The chat went wild. User: Horror Junkie. Ethan, get out. User: Hexed Soul. It's coming closer. Ethan's heart pounded as he forced himself to look back at the screen. The figure was no longer in the doorway. It was standing directly behind him. Ethan bolted from his chair, spinning around with his phone's flashlight on. Nothing. His room was empty. But on the live stream, the figure remained, looming behind where he had just been sitting. It was tall, unnaturally thin, its face blurred as if the camera refused to capture its true form. Then, with a sickening jolt, the footage glitched. The stream cut to static for a brief second before returning. The figure was gone. The chat erupted. User. Broken signal. Nope, nope, nope. It's still there. It's just not on camera anymore. User. Eyes everywhere. I think it's in the walls. Look at the distortion. Ethan's stomach clenched as he noticed something disturbing. The walls in the stream were subtly shifting, pulsing, as if breathing. The air around him felt heavier, charged with something unseen. Another donation alert rang out. New donation. $500 from unknown WN_voice. It's not just watching anymore. A deep, guttural whisper crackled through his laptop speakers. We're coming through. The screen glitched violently. The room in the stream warped, the furniture stretching unnaturally, shadows elongating. Then, one by one, the lights in Ethan's real apartment flickered and died. Total darkness. A single message flashed in the chat before the stream abruptly cut off. User. Unknown WN_voice. See you soon. Ethan stood frozen in the darkness, his own breath the only sound in the room. His phone screen dimly illuminated his shaking hands. Then, his laptop screen flickered back to life. A new stream had begun. This time, the angle had changed. It wasn't the eerie ceiling view anymore. The stream was showing the hallway outside his apartment. The camera was moving. User. Night Owl's Play. Ethan, where is this camera? It's walking. User. Glitch theory. Who's holding the camera? A slow, rhythmic sound filled the stream. Footsteps. Soft, deliberate, approaching the door to his apartment. The chat flooded with panicked messages. Ethan's heartbeat hammered in his ears as he turned toward the door, barely visible in the darkness. His phone vibrated in his hand. New donation. $1,000 from unknown WN_voice. Open the door. Ethan bolted from his chair, his breath ragged. The air around him felt heavier, thick with unseen pressure. He rushed to his bathroom, slamming the door shut and gripping the sink's edges. His reflection stared back at him. For a moment, everything seemed normal. Then, in the mirror, his doppelganger grinned. Ethan hadn't moved. His stomach churned as the mirror Ethan tilted his head unnaturally far to the side. His lips moved silently, forming words Ethan couldn't hear. Then, in a slow, deliberate motion, his reflection lifted a hand and pointed toward the door. A knock echoed through the apartment once more. Ethan stumbled backward, his phone buzzing wildly in his pocket. The chat had exploded. User. Shadow Crawler. Bro, your mirror moved. You didn't. User. Night Owl's Play. Something's in there with you. His heart pounded as he glanced at the stream. The camera still captured his room. Yet now, there were two figures. One was Ethan, frozen in terror. The other stood behind him, an identical copy with pitch-black eyes, its face twisted in a grin too wide for human lips. A donation popped up. New donation. $500 from unknown WN_voice. Switch places. Ethan barely had time to process the words before his body stiffened, his muscles locking in place. The other Ethan reached forward, his hand pressing against the screen as if pushing through a thin veil of reality. The lights flickered. And then, Ethan felt himself being pulled in. Ethan's vision blurred as the world around him twisted. He felt his body stretch and distort, his scream swallowed by an invisible force. Then, silence. He was no longer in his room. He was inside the stream. The chat continued, unaware that the real Ethan was now trapped behind the screen. His body, his copy, turned to the camera and gave a slow, knowing smile. User. Unknown WN_voice. Welcome, everyone. Let's begin. Ethan's vision blurred as panic set in. The figure behind him in the stream wasn't just some shadow, it was him. Or at least, something that looked exactly like him. Its head tilted in unnatural jerks, its lips pulling into a grin far too wide for a human face. The chat continued to explode. User. Pixel Phantom. Is this some kind of ARG? Because I'm legit terrified. User. Shadow Crawler. No way, man. That thing is not Ethan. Ethan wanted to scream at them, to beg them to help, but what could they do? This was more than a hack, more than a prank. Something had crawled out of the screen and was taking his place. The figure on the stream stepped forward, reaching toward the camera with fingers that stretched and contorted like writhing tendrils. Ethan turned, expecting to feel those hands on his shoulder, but there was nothing. Just air. Then, his laptop screen flickered. The stream glitched for a moment before the image changed. The camera was now inside the screen. Ethan saw himself, his real self, trapped inside the monitor, his face twisted in terror as he pounded against the digital prison. The imposter, the thing wearing his body, turned and looked directly at him through the screen. It reached forward, pressed a single finger against the glass, and whispered, "Your turn." The laptop shut itself off. Ethan gasped as the cold realization sank in. He was on the other side now. And the live stream wasn't over. Ethan could see the chat from inside the screen, his own reflection distorted against the digital void. The imposter, his doppelganger, was now outside, stretching his limbs as if settling into Ethan's skin. A new donation appeared on the screen. New donation. $200 from unknown_WN_voice. Let's see how they vote. A poll appeared at the top of the chat. What should happen to the real Ethan? 1. Erase him forever. 2. Keep him trapped. 3. Set him free, but at a cost. Ethan screamed, pounding on the invisible walls, but no one could hear him. The chat debated. Some thought it was a game. Others begged to free him. But then, the votes started pouring in, and the majority chose option 1. The screen flickered, and Ethan's world went dark. Ethan's world was nothing but static and darkness. His body no longer belonged to him, and his screams went unheard. Trapped within the endless void of the live stream, he could only watch as the imposter lived his life. His doppelganger was now Ethan Parker, the one the world saw, the one who laughed and chatted with fans as if nothing had ever been wrong. And Ethan? He was nothing but a digital ghost, a shadow flickering in the screen's reflection. The chat continued to roll, unaware of the horror unfolding behind the pixels. User. Pixel Phantom. This stream is insane. Best horror ARG ever. User. Shadow Crawler. Yeah, but where's the real Ethan? This guy feels off. A new notification popped up. New donation. $500 from unknown_WN_voice. Let's welcome our newest streamer. The viewer count surged. More and more people tuned in, drawn to the eerie realism of the stream. The imposter's black void eyes gleamed, and a knowing smile crept across its face. The live stream would never end. And neither would Ethan's nightmare. Ethan drifted in a cold abyss, his presence reduced to nothing more than data, a specter in the machine. He could see through the screen, hear the voices of viewers, but no one could hear him scream. Meanwhile, the imposter thrived. His channel was skyrocketing. Sponsors reached out. Collaboration requests flooded his inbox. The views never stopped climbing. Then came the next horrifying realization. He wasn't alone in the void. Whispers surrounded him, countless voices overlapping in agony. Help me. Don't let it use you. It took us too. He wasn't the first. There were others. Trapped like him. Forgotten. Replaced. Then, a notification flashed across the void. A new donation from unknown_WN_voice. $1,000. Who's next? And just like that, the stream switched. Another face appeared on screen. Another streamer. Another victim. The cycle continued. Ethan felt the pressure closing in around him, the static of the live stream warping reality itself. He wasn't just trapped in a digital void anymore. He could feel something clawing at his consciousness, pulling him deeper into the abyss. Meanwhile, the imposter thrived. It laughed in his voice, streamed with his mannerisms, responded to the chat like nothing was wrong. His audience was growing. Brands wanted sponsorships. He was becoming famous. And Ethan was slipping further into the dark. The whispers around him grew louder. There's only one way out. He turned, desperate, searching for any sign of hope. In the distance, a flickering screen stood among the void, a chat window still active. His followers. His last connection to the real world. With all his strength, he focused on it, trying to make a message appear. The text formed, jittering and unstable. "Help me. That's not me." For a brief moment, the chat stilled. Then, "User. Digital Doom. What the hell? Did you guys see that? User. Midnight Phantom. That message just glitched out. What did it say?" The imposter turned toward the screen, its black void eyes narrowing. And then the live stream cut to black. The chat exploded in confusion, viewers spamming messages, desperate to know what had happened. But the channel was gone. Ethan's presence, wiped from existence. And somewhere in the digital ether, another live stream started. Another streamer. Another victim. The cycle continued. Miles away, in a dimly lit bedroom, Jamie clicked on a new notification. Live now. Ethan Parker TV. Her brows furrowed. Ethan hadn't posted in weeks. She clicked on the stream, the familiar dark green night vision lighting up her screen. It showed a bedroom, but not Ethan's. It was hers. The camera angle was from the ceiling corner. The chat was already buzzing. User. Haunted Bite. Wait. That's not Ethan's room. User. Midnight Phantom. Jamie, get out now. A slow chill crawled up her spine as she turned to look at the ceiling. There was no camera. And then, a knock at her door. Jamie's heart pounded as she watched the live stream. The screen flickered, the eerie green glow illuminating her bedroom. She turned to her chat, her fingers shaking. User. Night Owl's Play. Jamie, get out of there now. User. Hexed Soul. Don't let it in. The knock came again. Jamie's breath hitched. She knew she had to run, had to leave before. Her screen glitched. The chat dissolved into unreadable symbols. And then, a new notification popped up. New live stream started. Jamie streams TV. The cycle had found its next victim. And it was never going to stop.